Join me as I dive into the fascinating world of the Amish and challenge myself to uncover their biggest secrets. In a world dominated by the hum of refrigerators and the convenience of modern appliances, the Amish community stands as a testament to the beauty of tradition and resourcefulness. This unique way of life, steeped in history and simplicity, showcases a remarkable ability to thrive without the trappings of contemporary technology. Instead of relying on electric cooling systems, the Amish have mastered an array of food preservation techniques, each of which has been carefully passed down through generations. From canning and fermenting to drying and pickling, these timeless methods not only keep food fresh but also infuse it with flavors that modern storage methods can't match. Join me on a journey to discover the secrets behind the Amish way of preserving food, where creativity and tradition intertwine to create a sustainable lifestyle. The magic of water bath canning. Imagine walking into a pantry filled with gleaming jars of vibrant pickles, sun-ripened peaches, and plump tomatoes, all waiting patiently on the shelves. This is the magic of water bath canning, a technique that the Amish have perfected over generations. At first glance, canning might seem like a simple task. Fill jars with food, seal them, and boil them. However, there's an art and science to it that the Amish have mastered. When I attempted to can peaches at home, I quickly discovered that the process was far more complex than it appeared. Instead of neatly sealed jars, I ended up with a sticky kitchen and several jars that refused to seal. It was a humbling experience that left me questioning my culinary skills. Meanwhile, the Amish approach canning with precision and care. They meticulously wash and prepare each jar, ensuring that every piece of fruit or vegetable is ready for preservation. Once filled, the jars are lowered into bubbling pots of boiling water, where the heat kills off any bacteria or mold spores that could spoil the contents. The beauty of this method lies in its simplicity and effectiveness. Once sealed, these jars can be stored on a shelf for years, offering a taste of summer even in the dead of winter. Imagine pulling out a jar of home-canned tomatoes in January, knowing that those tomatoes were harvested at their peak and preserved at the height of their flavor. It's like time travel for food. In fact, some canned goods have been known to maintain their freshness for over 5 years, as long as that seal holds tight. The satisfaction of opening a jar of pickles or peaches is something that's hard to describe. The crunch of a perfectly pickled cucumber or the sweetness of a home-canned peach can transport you back to summer days, evoking memories of harvests and family gatherings. It's a joy that modern conveniences simply can't replicate. Sadly, when I tried to pop my own jars open prematurely, resisting the temptation to dig into them was a test of will. For the Amish, however, patience is a virtue, and they understand that waiting often yields the most rewarding results, a forgotten skill. Canning as a tradition. Water bath canning was once a common practice in many households across America, but the rise of refrigeration has cast it into the shadows. Today, the mere mention of canning might elicit confused looks from younger generations who have grown up in a world of convenience. In contrast, for the Amish, canning remains an essential part of their lifestyle, an intricate skill that is treated with the reverence it deserves. I once asked my grandmother about canning, and her bemused expression spoke volumes. To her, the ability to preserve food was as fundamental as cooking itself. Not knowing the difference between a hot pack and a raw pack suddenly made me feel like an amateur, as if I had missed out on a rite of passage. The Amish, on the other hand, have woven canning into the fabric of their culture, where every jar represents not just food but also a connection to their heritage. These jars become a secret stash, a safeguard against the uncertainties of nature. When winter storms blanket the ground in snow, and grocery store shelves are bare, the Amish simply reach for their carefully preserved treasures. Imagine the comfort of knowing that with a simple twist of a jar lid, a hearty meal is just moments away. For them, the act of canning is not merely about survival. It's about maintaining a connection to the earth, to family, and to tradition. The culinary art of wood ash preservation, yet the Amish ingenuity does not stop at canning. In a world where food waste is rampant, they have found creative ways to repurpose what most might consider refuse. Enter wood ash, a surprising ally in the battle against spoilage. You might think that tossing out the remnants of a fire is the norm, but for the Amish, it's a valuable resource. Storing eggs in ashes may sound peculiar, but it's a practice grounded in science. Clean, dry ash creates an alkaline environment that is inhospitable to bacteria, making it an effective preservative. Picture this: a container filled with clean, dry ash, each egg nestled carefully within, waiting to be pulled out months later, still fresh. This method preserves not only eggs but also root vegetables like carrots and beets, allowing them to survive the long winter months without sprouting or turning mushy. Crunchy bits swimming in the fat. Not everyone appreciates a rogue crumb of bacon in their mouthful of tender roast. The timeless technique of fermentation. Fermentation isn't just a modern trend. It's an ancient practice that the Amish have embraced wholeheartedly. Long before kombucha became the darling of health food stores, the Amish were fermenting vegetables to create tangy, probiotic-rich staples. This process, where beneficial bacteria feast on sugars, transforms ordinary foods into extraordinary preservation wonders. Think sauerkraut, pickles, and beets, all made through a simple yet delicate balance of time and culture. When I tried my hand at making sauerkraut, I was filled with enthusiasm, eager to channel my inner pioneer. However, I was unprepared for the overwhelming smell that filled my kitchen. Imagine opening a jar and being greeted by an aroma reminiscent of an old gym locker. Certainly not the pleasant experience I envisioned. But, much to my surprise, after weeks of fermentation, the end result was a crunchy, flavorful kraut that had my family singing its praises. Well, after they got over the initial shock of the smell, the science behind fermentation is fascinating. It requires no fancy gadgets or electricity, just patience and the right conditions for bacteria to do their thing. Some archaeological digs suggest that humans have been fermenting foods for over 9,000 years, so if it worked for our ancestors, it can certainly work for the Amish. One of the best parts about fermented foods is their longevity. While fresh vegetables may wilt and spoil within days, fermented foods can last for years, with flavors that improve over time. It's like a culinary version of aging like fine wine. Each batch becomes more complex and delicious with every passing month. Just remember to label your jars. I once accidentally mixed up my sauerkraut with a jar of pickled beets, leading to quite a surprise at dinner time when I expected one flavor and got another. The art of drying. The Amish also excel in the art of drying fruits and meats, transforming them into long-lasting snacks and staples. Long before electric dehydrators became popular, the Amish used the sun and wood-fired ovens to remove moisture from food, extending its shelf life significantly. The principle is simple. Less moisture means less chance for mold and bacteria to take hold. When I visited an Amish family, I marveled at the shelves filled with jars of dried apples, pears, and even strips of venison. The dad explained that with 7 hungry kids, making food last was a necessity. The idea that some dried foods can last for over 20 years. Yes, you read that right, was mind-blowing. Imagine finding a jar of dried tomatoes in the back of your pantry that's older than your teenage child, yet still good to eat. Dried foods have become staples not just for the Amish, but for travelers and even astronauts, who have turned to age-old drying methods for space meals. During my own attempt to dry apple slices, I unwittingly invited disaster. I left the tray out in the sun, only to return and find it completely empty. My neighbor's dog had helped himself to a feast. It was a humbling reminder of the need for vigilance in food preservation. The Amish approach drying with a keen understanding of balance. Too much moisture left in the food leads to disaster, while too little can turn your apples into rock-hard snacks. I learned this the hard way when I bit into a piece of jerky that was so tough it could have doubled as a building material. Yet, when done correctly, dried fruits and meats retain their flavor and nutrients, offering a taste of summer or a hearty snack all year round. Root cellars, nature's cool storage. Now let's talk about root cellars, an ingenious storage solution that has stood the test of time. Tucked underground, root cellars provide a cool, dark, and slightly humid environment ideal for preserving produce. For the Amish, these spaces are not just storage. They are treasure troves filled with the bounty of the harvest. Walking into an Amish root cellar feels like stepping into a farmer's version of Narnia. The walls are lined with bins of potatoes, apples, carrots, and other root vegetables, all waiting patiently for winter. The temperature inside remains surprisingly stable, which prevents spoilage. It's a testament to the natural engineering of food storage. Interestingly, the flavors of the produce stored in root cellars often improve over time. Apples, for instance, mellow and soften, developing a richer taste that is unlike anything you'd find in a grocery store. The effort it takes to lug buckets of produce up and down those root cellar steps is a workout in itself, but it's a labor of love that pays off with delicious meals throughout the colder months. Root cellars also serve as community hubs, where neighbors exchange tips and laughter while trading produce. An elderly Amish gentleman once told me that the secret to happiness is to keep your root cellar stocked and your neighbors guessing about your methods. It's a delightful blend of community spirit and practical wisdom. The power of salt. Moving on to salt, an ancient preservative that has played a pivotal role in food preservation for centuries. The Amish have kept this tradition alive, utilizing salt not just for seasoning but as a powerful ally against spoilage. Before refrigeration, entire economies were built around salt, and it was even used as currency to pay Roman soldiers. Today, the Amish know that packing food in salt not only enhances its flavor but also inhibits bacterial growth. Imagine slabs of meat layered in barrels filled with coarse salt, resembling a winter wonderland. The salt draws out moisture, creating an environment where bacteria can't thrive. This method, known as salting, has been used for centuries to keep meats and fish edible for long periods of time. In fact, properly salted fish has been known to last for decades. When I decided to try salting a ham, I learned firsthand just how challenging this technique can be. The salt got everywhere, between my fingers, under my nails, and somehow even into my shoes. Not to mention, wrestling with a slippery brine felt like trying to carry a toddler in the midst of a tantrum, but the end result was worth it. Tender, flavorful meat that could outlast even the most ambitious of food expiration dates. Salt curing isn't for the faint of heart. It requires patience and precision, but when done correctly, it rewards you with meats that taste like they just came off the smoker, even years later. It's a skill that the Amish have perfected over generations, and it exemplifies their commitment to resourcefulness and sustainability. The art of pickling. Now let's discuss pickling, the process that transforms humble cucumbers into tangy, crunchy delights that can outlive the bread they were meant to accompany. The Amish have perfected this method, using vinegar to preserve a variety of foods, from cucumbers to beets, and even eggs. The magic of pickling lies in its ability to extend shelf life, with unopened jars lasting for over 5 years. I remember my first attempts at making pickles at home. Full of enthusiasm, I thought I could whip up a batch of delicious pickles in no time. Unfortunately, I learned the hard way that one wrong move with the salt-to-vinegar ratio could lead to either a concoction that could strip paint or something so soft it resembled old chewing gum. My family, brave souls that they are, tasted the first batch, but I could sense the hesitation in their eyes. Pickling is an art, and like all arts, it requires practice to achieve perfection. The beauty of pickling is its ability to transform ordinary vegetables into extraordinary culinary delights. Picture a jar of pickled eggs, each one floating serenely in a tangy brine, elegantly waiting to make their grand entrance at a potluck. When done right, pickles become more than just a side dish. They celebrate it as appetizers, garnishes, and even as the stars of the show at family gatherings. The Amish have elevated pickling to a fine art, often experimenting with various spices and to create unique blends that tantalize the taste buds. From garlic dill pickles to sweet bread and butter pickles, each jar tells a story of creativity and, additionally, the health benefits of pickled foods are noteworthy. Not only do they provide a way to enjoy seasonal produce year-round, but they also offer probiotics that promote gut health. In an era of fast food and convenience meals, the art of pickling serves as a delicious reminder of the value of patience and craftsmanship. While many of us might rush through our meals, the Amish take the time to savor each bite and the history behind it. Smoking as a preservation method. Finally, let's explore the art of smoking, a technique that has been used for centuries to preserve meats and fish while enhancing flavor. The Amish have embraced smoking as a viable method for keeping their foods fresh and delicious. When meat is hung in a smokehouse, it absorbs those aromatic flavors while forming a protective layer that inhibits bacterial growth. Imagine walking into a traditional Amish smokehouse, where the rich scent of hickory and applewood fills the air. Cuts of meat, from hams to sausages, dangle from hooks, absorbing every ounce of flavor as they dry out. Smoked meats can last for up to 2 years, making them a delightful addition to any pantry. During my first attempt at smoking chicken wings, I was filled with excitement. I envisioned a mouth-watering meal, but I soon learned how easy it is to go overboard with spices. The wings turned out to be a spicy disaster, leaving my taste buds in turmoil. But that's the beauty of the learning process. Each trial and error brings us one step closer to mastering this age-old technique. The Amish also smoke fish and cheeses, creating delicacies that stand out at any gathering. Imagine a spread featuring smoked cheddar or salmon that infuses your palate with deep, rich flavors. The versatility of smoked foods is astounding, making them perfect for festive occasions or simple family dinners. In conclusion, our journey into the world of the Amish has revealed a rich tapestry of traditions, values, and secrets. By embracing their complexity and diversity, we can gain a deeper understanding of this fascinating community and the importance of respecting their way of life. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If you have any questions or comments, please share them below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more intriguing content that explores the hidden sides of human culture.